I'm familiar with that wonderful mug with the alphabet across it by Ravilious will recognise the style of this print, which is, of course, by Ravilious, and it's signed by him both printed and in pencil, bottom right. And it's done in the late 1930s, and it's of New Haven Harbour in East Sussex, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not something you see very often. Why is it yours?
It belonged to my father-in-law, and he would have bought it new. When he was a young man, he kind of set up his bachelor pad with all modern furniture. And
oh, he wanted to be modern?
Very. We've still got some of the modern furniture. And this was one of the things he obviously bought then, and has been in the family ever since.
It's also one of the first things that Ravilious did in the way of prints in colour, because previously he'd done these woodcuts on a smaller scale and monochrome. But this, to me, although it's a very sort of muted palette, is an explosion of colour and into a much bigger size. And of course it's a different medium, really. It's a lithograph. He also called it his homage to Seurat.
Right, I can see why.
Yes, you sort of can, can't you? It's got that open light about it, hasn't it?
Yes.
There's a sort of strange stillness about it, and even the boat steaming into the harbour seems sort of frozen in the water, and there's no people milling around at all. And it's extraordinarily still, and even these clouds sort of hang in the sky statically. And the light in it is very extraordinary as well, very strongly lit and highly stylised to suggest that lighting. And in this way, it's extremely modern.
Yes. Yes.
But a very individual and British take on modernism, you might say, for the late 1930s. Anyway, terrific print. And what's going on here? Because I noticed that the signatures...
Knowing my father-in-law, he would have trimmed it to go into the clip frame he wanted. But then we didn't actually realise until we took it out yesterday that he'd actually left that little bit there.
Oh, I see. So he's cut a little bit off and then...
Because he wouldn't have known that it was important. It was just a print that he bought as a young man that he really liked.
Do you think it's important?
Well, when I was looking it up on the internet, as one does,
yes, of course,
it kind of said that this one was elusive. That was the word they used. So I thought, perhaps we better bring it in and have a look.
Yes, it is a rare print. I'll tell you about the missing bit first. It's probably worth about 2,000 quid.
Serious?
Yes.
Well, I thought the whole picture, if we were lucky, if it were worth 1,000.
No, it's worth about £4,000 as it is.
That's fantastic. Well, it's still going up in the clip. Well, no, I think we'll frame it properly when we get home. But it's still going up on the wall.
Well, quite right.
That's wonderful.
But it is a really, really wonderful image. I just love it.
Oh, yes.
So here's a very, shall we say, vibrant picture by Colin Moss, 1952, clearly inscribed. And I understand that it's you.
It is.
I didn't recognise you with your clothes on.
Yes.
I had to say that. You do realise?
Yeah, well, quite. It was inevitable, really, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. Well, so how, what, why? You know?
Well, I first met Colin Moss when I began to be a student when I was 16, and this was at Ipswich Art School. And shortly after I'd been there, well, not very long afterwards, he suddenly said out of the blue that he was enamoured of me.
So I suppose you ran screaming from the room?
Pretty much, yes, I did. And in fact, it was a great shock all round. However, years later, he rang me up and asked if I'd come and pose. He'd always wanted to paint me, and I said, oh, well, all right, you may. Just that one session, and that was it, where I went. And then many, many years go by, I was asked if I'd like to go to a show that Colin had. And there I was on the front of it, you see.
Oh,
and yes, I couldn't believe it. I was horrified. And my son bought the painting for me. It wasn't for sale, and he wouldn't sell it to anybody other than to them on the knowledge that it would go to me. So actually, it hangs in my son's house now because it's rather large.
Well, rather large, but wonderfully colourful.
Yes, he's quite a well-known painter in this part of the world.
He's certainly well known around here, and he's also well known nationally as well. He's not just a local hero, and a great champion of expressionism in this country, and also of surrealism, which is a very powerful movement, you know, just after the war. It's amazingly painted very quickly, perhaps with feverish haste. Yes, but he's chosen some good colours to go in here, and it's amazing to look that is green, and it works perfectly. You know, it really is. The flesh tones are well built up, and I love this sort of purple here. The whole thing it's a blast of colour. I can see why your sons wanted it. It wasn't just because of you. It was, it's a powerful, punchy picture. How much did they have to pay for it? Do you mind me asking?
I think it was 2,500, something like that. I'm not really sure.
Well, like a lot of artists, their day is yet to come. I think he's dead now, isn't he?
Yes, he has died
now. And there needs to be a looking again artist of this vintage, but shall we say that it's worth between £3,000 and £4,000? I think it could well be, actually. And great fun. Thank you very much. Artist, say the artist of this painting, I'd be a bit worried, actually, that I was classified as an antique. And of course, Mary Fedden, for it is she, is very much still alive in her 90s and still painting.
Yes, exactly. Well, we weren't sure whether it would be classed as an antique for the Antiques Roadshow, but it's here, so...
Very much. Mary Fedden has been around a long time. She was very interested in Matisse, very interested in Winifred Nicholson. She's married to another artist, Julian Trevelyan, who's a surrealist artist. And amongst other things, she decorated the Canberra, you know, the cruise liner. Yes. I think in the 60s or late 50s. I can't remember exactly when it was built. Now, you like this picture, I hope?
I do, very much, yes. It's a lovely picture. I love the colours and I love just the whole composition of it. It's very nice.
It's amazing what she's done with it, isn't it? Because she's kind of completely flattened all the round shapes. And this jug, which you sort of think you ought to see from up here, has been brought forward and made into a two-dimensional object. The curve has gone right out of it, as have the flowers in it, and the twigs and branches that stick out of it. And the scales, too, have been, although they're tilted slightly, they're tilted away from the jug. She's really played with the perspective of it. And you identify things rather slowly. Like, it took me a while to realise that that's a pink paper bag on top of the scales, full of, fruit and vegetables and groceries?
Yes, I think so.
And almost, you know, it's so flattened out. It's a bit like a collage of different materials and
yes, I've never thought of it like that. Yes, it is.
And I really like these, actually, I love this colour, this big, bold brown colour coming up the side. And then this violet colour as well. It kind of, it's very interesting to examine the contents of the bag and then look at the balancing colours between them. So you like it so much you didn't frame it.
Well, no, and that's one of the things I'd like to ask as to whether it should be framed, whether it should be behind glass and those sort of things.
Oh, you don't have to put it behind glass, but a varnish would be nice. And as to frame, well, you've got to go and look and see what other Feddens are framed in, or other pictures of the 60s are framed in.
Yes.
And then you've got to choose something that works with the colours. You know, that's your decision.
Yes.
How did you get the picture, anyway?
Well, when a company was closing their offices, we had the opportunity to buy paintings that they'd had decorating their offices.
Oh, I see.
And this particular one had actually been hanging in the boardroom.
Oh, had it?
And they bought it in 1965, so when she was a young artist, I presume.
Yes, it was probably a good piece of patronage at the time, and it probably went with the decor. And what did they make you pay for it?
We paid £3,000 then, and I know they bought it in 1965 for £100.
And you bought it when?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. I think the reason why we like it now is because, well, at least a generation has passed since it was painted.
Yeah.
So we're back to thinking that this period is very interesting of any good artist, and Mary Fedden's paintings are no exception to that. So would it surprise you to learn that it's probably worth about 30, 35, maybe £40,000 now?
It would. I mean, I know she's quite a famous artist, but I didn't expect it to be that much, no. No. My goodness. Oh, I'm dreading where to hang it now and where to put it at home. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of times that we're sitting at the desk and somebody pulls something out of a plastic bag and says, I've got a Constable here. And you get terribly excited because, you know, he is the great romantic landscape painter of the 19th century. And out it comes and it isn't. You know, 99 times out of 100, it's a disappointment and a letdown. This is a real one. Not only a real one, it was a very early one. 1798, it's before the 19th century. He was only 22 when he did this. And not only is it an early one, it's a really good one. He's curious, he's concentrating extraordinarily hard, he's looking and all of that is wonderfully described in the most delicate tones. And you got it where?
I bought it at a London auction in 74.
A generation ago.
It was 100 quid.
Really? Seems like
Which I
nothing
thought
now.
at the time was a bargain, because I have to say it was way below their estimate, but there was obviously not a reserve on it. I think the estimate was, from memory, 500 quid.
Let's look at it. What do you like about it?
I like about it the fact that it says John Constable.
Do you think that's really important that it says that?
I think it is.
Looking at this, I think it's actually a very complicated and very interesting and very human drawing. It's done at a time when he was under the influence of a man called John Thomas Smith, who was a friend of his father's, who owned all those mills around Flatford, you know. And Smith was an antiquarian and a draftsman, and he had quite a big influence on the young Constable. You see these pen and ink marks here, these very
Sure.
brief little
Yes,
semicircles.
yes.
Well, they're kind of like, they're the structure of the drawing, really. They build the wall, they build the tree, they define the gateway and the tiles on the little roofed structure over it. And around that, he's painted a series of washes at different grades of grey. And they're very, very delicate, and they're very, very clever. The reason they're delicate and clever is because he's defined distance and transparency in these trees very, very vividly with that. I mean, the light here, pulled very brightly on the ground, is only the colour of the paper. There's no mark there.
Right.
And it's described by putting a very dark shadow here. And all the way back into the trees, you see these fine grades from dark grey to a very, very fine mist of grey, right to the sky, where the clouds are perfectly described in exactly the same manner, even more delicately. So I say to you that what at first sight seems like a fairly simple drawing is actually an extremely complex one. And Constable has sat there and he's really observed that in that intense way that great artists do when they look at something. The searing light of their attention just breaks it down and then renders it here into a thoroughly believable and actually very beautiful drawing, I think.
Well, that's most interesting.
At any rate, does translate into money. I think between £10,000 and £20,000 now.
Very good.
Should just about do it.
Very good.
So it's a generation later, and you've added several noughts anyway.
If all my investments were that good, I'd be laughing.
I wish.